your breaking news leader.
I'm not going to say that there's not instances where we've not had the outcome that we wanted.
Just minutes ago, in a Fox 16 Investigates report, we showed you records obtained exclusively by Fox 16 that showed the spiraling in 4-year-old Braden Bohack's life. Sadly, it cost him his life, and his mother is now facing a felony charge. Braden was unquestionably on the Department of Human Services radar. And in part 2 of this special report, Fox 16 investigator Marcy Manley digs deeper to find out how Braden could have fallen through the cracks.
Tabitha, would you like to say anything?
Tabitha Bohack spending the past 4 months going in
entering a plea of not guilty
and out of court, charged with manslaughter in June for the death of her 4-year-old son, Braden.
When something like that occurs, it's extremely concerning and something that we want to look into as soon as possible.
Fatalities of children following interactions with DHS happen more frequently than many would like to see.
It's the most serious concern.
According to an independent review of the Child Services Division, 40 kids died this year as of July 2015, despite coming into contact with the Division of Children and Family Services. That's nearly double the 23 child fatalities in 2011, a statistic the governor finds concerning.
That's something I don't have an answer to. It's a challenge that was raised that we've got to work at from an interagency standpoint to address.
According to DHS, it would normally be able to discuss cases involving a child's death and prior DHS involvement, unless prosecutors request otherwise.
So in some instances, they asked us to hold off from releasing any details, and that is the situation in this case.
But DHS does note, generally the goal of investigators and caseworkers is to keep families intact.
That's less trauma for the child, less trauma for the family, better chance at bringing everybody back together in a good way.
Are there situations where the system doesn't work?
Yes. I'm not going to say that there's not. At the end of the day, our caseworkers can put the best safety plan in place that there is, and then something still happens. You know, what happens with one parent on one day can dramatically alter the future.
That will help us make a determination.
Danita Hampton was the investigator called to the Bohack home 3 months before Braden's death. She cited safety concerns inside the home in her report and said she worked to do her due diligence on investigating the family while juggling dozens of cases.
Most times when we get into the home, all we know about the family is what's in the report.
But she admitted there isn't always time to run queries on police reports, and searches of the DHS CRIS system don't always reveal every interaction.
If we would given that information, or if we would know that information as we walking into this home, that would make a huge difference.
It might have revealed the dozen-plus police reports, ranging from overdoses and domestic violence to battery and disturbance calls.
Is that the kind of thing that should be reported to DCFS?
It should.
Which may have led her to make a different choice.
You can't, monitor the home 24/7. Anything could come up to where something like that can happen. So you can't, like I said, you can't save them all. You can only do the best that you can.
Ultimately, Braden was left at the home and died there. Despite Hampton's request, the family be assigned a DHS caseworker, leaving many to wonder if he was just one more child failed by the system.
Tabitha Bohack's trial date on the manslaughter charge is scheduled for February of next year. The family's daughters remain in their grandparents' care while in DHS custody. Our sources tell us the next hearing for that DHS case is slated for next week.
Such a beautiful, beautiful young boy. It's unfortunate that this happened. A lot of red flags being raised as a result of your investigation, and very well done. One of them is, did DHS actually conduct its own investigation into this? And if so, is anything going to change as a result of that?
All good questions. We actually asked for a copy of the internal report that they would conduct as policy and process after any child fatality when that child has been involved in DHS, with DHS, as to look into that case. But DHS couldn't confirm or deny that internal investigation had been conducted or what the outcomes were, because the prosecutor had asked that no information be released about Braden's case or his death. Now, what I can tell you is that I FOI'd the personnel records of all employees involved in Braden's case that were listed in the paperwork that we had. As Danita Hampton mentioned to us, she resigned at the end of September prior to Braden's death, but the supervisor in this case was actually disciplined in January of 2016, or 2015 rather, sorry, 2015, not specifically related to Braden's case, but for failure to supervise. She was suspended without pay and then ultimately resigned in August of this year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I also found it interesting that, 70 cases for one caseworker. There's another red flag right there. Something needs to be done there.
Absolutely. And Governor Hutchinson mentioned during that press conference, we heard a little bit of that during the report. They are increasing staff for caseworkers, but that's a slow process. And so there are a lot of moving parts in this thing. We've heard about the foster care home crisis.
Yeah.
All of that plays into this of you don't want to remove a kid from a home without knowing you can place them somewhere, especially if you can keep them in the home and keep them safe.
Yeah. Good job. Keep us posted. Stay on top of it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. And don't forget, you can call or email Marcy Manley if you have a story that you would like her to investigate. The phone number and email address right there on your screen, as you can see. And keep this in mind, you can remain anonymous.